Hey, good morning, everybody. It is time to get started, and we are here in the Beaux-Arts Ford studio for the St. August. Sorry, I can't even say the show.
For the
St. Johns County show that's on in the morning, the Stoidum. That's what I always call it. Well, in the studio today, we have Tony Coleman, school board member in studio with us, representative from District 2. And we'll get to all that in just a second, but we got to tell you about the amazing people at Beaux-Arts Ford. Since 1949, Beaux-Arts Ford Lincoln has been more than just a dealership. It's a local legacy built on trust, family values, and the commitment to doing things the right way. Proudly serving St. Augustine and beyond for over 75 years. Beaux-Arts offers award-winning service, unbeatable selection, and state-of-the-art facility with 91 climate-controlled service bays, a quick lane, for no appointment needed maintenance, and even Ford's Garage restaurant while you wait. Recognized with the Triple Crown Award and President's Award, Beaux-Arts Ford Lincoln is where hometown service meets national excellence. Great pricing, friendly faces, and a better buying experience. Are located just off I-95 and State Road 16, Beaux-Arts Ford. They are driven to inspire. All right, we also got to give a big shout out to all our other sponsors: Fidus Roofing, Old Town Trolley, Ben 39 Wine Bar, B&S Signs, Chiba Hut, Toasted Subs, Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, St. Augustine Handy House, and Sonny's Barbecue. Please get out there and support our wonderful sponsors and support us with your likes, comments, and shares. Follow us on Instagram, subscribe on YouTube and Rumble, and download our app from the Apple Store. Hey, good morning, Blake. How you doing back there, man? You awake?
Yes, I am.
All right. You worked hard on Saturday and got a lot of stuff out there.
Thank you.
And we have in studio with us, like I said, Mr. Tony Coleman, a longtime friend. And look at what, I didn't even know this pen was here. Look what pen that is.
Oh, wow.
So it's kind of ironic because Tony and I became close friends with the PAL, and I didn't even know we had a St. Johns County PAL pen in here, and I was holding it in my hand.
How cool.
How ironic is that? That's pretty wild, right?
Unbelievable.
All right, Tony, we do a question of the day, and because you're in here, it is actually National Fourth Graders Day. All right? So I want to know, for all my people out there and all the wonderful people out there, if you know who your fourth grade teacher is. All right, tell the school and the teacher if you know both.
Wow, goes way back. Hastings High School, which was Hastings Elementary School, and her name was Miss Rosa Nemens.
Rosa Nemens.
Yes.
There you go.
And she, I believe, taught 4th and 5th.
There you go.
And then we moved on to 56 with Steve Miranda, which was also that's called Hastonian.
Yeah, he's Hastonian also. So, Blake, do you remember your fourth grade teacher?
Yes, I do. But real quick, do you mind adjusting to Mr. Coleman's microphone just a little bit?
I can bring it up.
Bring it up a little bit closer. Thank you very much.
All right. He's a soft-spoken man. Yeah. His words are very important, but he's a soft-spoken man.
I definitely agree with you in that. So my fourth grade teacher was, I believe it was Miss Masida. She was actually my third and fourth grade teacher at Osceola Elementary.
There you go. All right, and my fourth grade teacher, it was at George Marks Elementary in DeLand, and it was Mrs. Hanson's class. And I think fourth grade, even then, is when you learned about the history of Florida. So, like, you learned all about Florida in fourth grade. So, like, when I see the kids coming into town, you know, from their field trips and stuff like that, they think I'm a genius. I was like, okay, let me guess. Fourth grade. Yeah, all of them are fourth graders. They don't know, they don't realize it, you know, but it's kind of funny, like, as they go by. So when you see all those tour groups and stuff like that, they're normally fourth graders for the state of Florida. So, all right. Now it is time for a quick check of the weather. And let me check my weather report. It is brisk outside. Okay. So I didn't think we were going to need to wear a coat today, but I had to throw on my 904 Now coat. Luckily, I had it with me, so it was a little brisk today. And that weather report is brought to us by Ben 39. Discover one of St. Augustine's best-kept secrets, Ben 39, tucked inside the St. George Inn at the north end of St. George Street. with over 95 boutique wines, 50 of them rated 90 points or higher by Robert Parker. It's the perfect spot for a romantic date night or a relaxing after-work unwind. Sip by the glass or bottle in a serene courtyard setting and enjoy live music throughout the week. Open daily from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Just stop by and say, I'll have what Irving's having. Ben 39, your taste to discover. All right, now it is time for the Hit the Blake's traffic report. What we got out there, Blake?
All right, we got traffic.
It looks like it's moving.
Yeah, at least thankfully it's not foggy today, so that's good.
It looks like it's moving along for Monday.
Yeah, it's moving around just fine. And let me go ahead and put this back up. And that traffic report is brought to you by Old Town Charlie. Climbable Old Town Charlie and experience over 5 years of history in the heart of St. Augustine. This fully narrated 90-minute tour features 22 convenient stops and covers more than 100 points of interest, including iconic landmarks like the Castillo de San Marco, the Fountain of Youth, and Flagler's Historic Hotel. With open-air views and all-day hop-on, hop-off access, it is the most fun and flexible way to explore the nation's oldest city. Your ticket also includes free admission to St. Augustine History Museum and locals. St. Johns County residents right free with a full fare guest with a Hometown Pass program at hometownpass.com. Old Town Trolley, the best way to see St. Augustine, one stop at a time.
All right, we do have one story that we need to get to, and it's a sad story. We lost a great lady here in St. Augustine, and it is St. Augustine is mourning the loss of longtime community leader and political consultant Kathleen Mary, we called her Carrie. I didn't even know her name was Kathleen McCarthy, who passed away on December 31st. She was 72 years old. Carrie was born on October 27, 1952, and spent her early years between St. Augustine, Florida, Glen Ellen, Illinois, and Cape Cod, Massachusetts. She graduated from Cathedral Parish School and was a St. Joseph graduate also, and went on to become a noted author, consultant on numerous books and articles. Carrie was preceded in death by her parents, George and Mary Lou McCarthy, her sister, Cheryl Davis Knapp, and her brother, Kevin McCarthy. She also shared a special family connection with her late cousins, Kathleen Kick Kennedy and President John F. Kennedy. Known for her strong personality and quick wit, friends say she would enter a conversation with warmth and candor, often beginning with her trademark phrase, "Oh, darling," before speaking her mind. While her temper could be quick, those who knew her say her loyalty and admiration for others were lifelong. Carrie built a respected career in political consulting, working on local, state, and national campaigns. She was deeply passionate about the campaign trail, guiding candidates with a personal face-to-face approach. She believed in preparation, honesty, and an understanding of the responsibility of public service, always asking candidates a key question: what will you do if you win, or after you win? She was known for her appreciation of community history, dedication, civic engagement, and a belief for preparing future generations through education. A memorial service for Carrie will be held Monday, January 12th, that is tonight, at 6 p.m. at Craig Funeral Home. In lieu of flowers, memory donations may be made to the United Way of St. Johns County and Putnam County. All right. I had a very good relationship with Carrie going back decades. Just always a beautiful woman. Like I said, she was very passionate about her beliefs and thoughts, and she always did it with grace. She definitely is a person that will be missed here in the community. Tony, did you have any relationship with Carrie at all, or not too much?
I didn't have too much, but I as you was sharing with the audience about her commitment and compassion, and as you said, the United Way, and how it has always played a big part of our communities, and know that she stood for those. And it's amazing how someone has that much character that we continue the legacy of what she stood for, and keep our families lifted up.
Yeah. No, and definitely all the love to the family out there, and she was truly loved here in the community. Carrie, you will be missed. So, all right. sorry to start off with the Debbie Downer, but people needed to know about Carrie because she did so much for our community. Now you and I go back a couple of years, like three decades. You started your career in law enforcement, I believe.
Yes.
So that's where you started your career in law enforcement. You and I met, I think, through the Police Athletic League when it was very much just getting started.
1990.
Yeah, 1990. So we kind of said, hey, we got to do something here. We're missing this component, and you and Mike DeLeon and a handful of others,
James Allen,
James Allen, and Miss Williams, Brian James, Miss Williams, and the whole crew kind of came together, and it's pretty impressive what it looks like today. And the complex they're building out on Nice Road is going to be beautiful. So tell me about your very early career in law enforcement, and then how it morphed over to Police Athletic League.
Well, and amazingly, Troy, as it said, I spent 30 years in law enforcement. I started my career at Putnam County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
And in 1986 and in 1988, I transferred over to St. Johns County because I wanted to be back home. I wanted to be back in my community. And I was hired by the late Sheriff Neil Perry.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where my career started as a patrol officer, on the streets,
Mm-hmm.
Protecting and serving, which is an honor. And I always worked with kids, after graduating from high school,
Mm-hmm.
coaching. And that's kind of how my career shifted from being a road officer into the community policing and then the youth resource section, where I actually began as a resource officer. And amazingly, even in 1990, and I got to say this, and I don't think we would have been effective from the sheriff's standpoint had we not had a great relationship with the St. Johns County Rec Department,
Mm-hmm.
and having and you being the director at that time that saw the vision and fought for kids.
Mm-hmm. Well, and in Hastings, Hastings always is going to hold a special spot. I mean, you grew up there, so I mean, you were obviously the right choice, right man, right place. Hastings, a lot of the kids there need a little more boost than the kids that I have in Ponte Vedra. And we had Miss Tanya there doing the best she can. She was juggling Jello, and you came in and you gave that support on top of that. And there's crime prevention to me is a lot cheaper than rehabilitation.
I totally agree.
And I always believed that very early on. And you and I have had this conversation since 1990. If we can stop them from getting in trouble, then they're not going to continue to get in trouble. And over in Hastings, we had a problem in the 1990s, and I think what you did there with a Police Athletic League, what you did just as a community. I mean, there was a lot of times you weren't getting paid. Because there was not money, and we all have been there in those early days. But tell me what that Hastings community really does, because you grew up in it. I mean, and you've given so much back to it. So tell me why that passion is to give so much back.
And we would have to go back to your first question when you said, do you remember your fifth grade teacher?
Mm-hmm.
And Hastings has always been a community where it was unified, built together. Everybody, parents raised other kids. Parents,
it was a village,
and so it was definitely the village concept. And coming from from a farming community, and everybody having taken stock in it, it just made it a whole lot better. The challenges were there,
mm-hmm.
and I commend again, those that, not just myself, but others that were, the clergy that were in that community that saw the value. Because as you can remember, Hastings was a viable community, and then we had two fires that, that really devastated, the community. And then, we had a transition of, the educational aspect that where the school went from a high school to the kids having to be transferred for. And I would say this, when you're so knitted in a community, change doesn't always come easy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was something over the past, years that took an effect in the early part of Hastings community. Um, but if you look at it now, it's being more revitalized. A lot of things are coming back to the community.
Approximately what year did Hastings High School shut down?
I want to say I think it was in '85 was the
Okay.
last
So
high school.
mid-'80s.
Yeah, and then it went from that to a middle school, then to elementary.
Mm.
And so,
Yeah, because I got here I moved here in '87 to go to Flagler, but I started January 2nd of '90 when we first met. So you were one of the first people I met here in
Oh, wow,
town.
didn't
So yeah, so it was already at that point it was already in elementary
Yeah.
school, and the Parks and Rec was working out of a little trailer, where the football field was across
Yes.
from the library. And the first day I went there, there was holes in the trailer, like in the floor. And I was like, Tanya, how long has it been like this? She's like, it's always been like this. And I was like, all right.
Yeah.
And that's when we started that.
Yeah.
Okay, we're the kids of Hastings deserve a little bit better than what we're giving them. So, and then we moved into where the library was at, and then we moved over to the gym when the elementary school moved to what's the school there?
Southwoods.
Southwoods.
Yes. Yeah.
So, but your involvement with kids has always been there. Now, weren't you a resource officer at
Yes.
Pedro, and where
Yes.
where all were you
Actually,
a resource officer?
I started when I came over to the resource division. I I was assigned to Murray Middle School,
Okay.
the Murray Middle School,
Yeah.
and home of the Bulldogs, and I spent a year and a half or so at Murray Middle School with Tyrone Ramsey.
Yeah,
As you know, he was a
yeah,
part of
yeah.
the PAL helping us out, and so when they opened the Games Alternative Center, which was the alternative school for the district,
Mm.
I transferred over to work in the alternative school setting with them, and
Mm.
from then on, so I had a mixture of from middle school to alternative setting to high school.
Mm.
Well, ended up at the Pedro Menendez High School, but again, and that's you have to. And like you, ever since I've known you, you've always been kid driven and community driven, and that's not a hard task when you do
No.
it from your heart.
That's what you love. So that's what you love. But so you got to talked about Tyrone. You worked with ABBA,
Yes.
obviously, and now you're with the school district with ABBA and Jim Springfield, who's one of our city commissioners.
Yes.
So like it's kind of nice. I don't want to say we're getting old, but
Just a little bit.
yeah, we're getting old. We're gaining wisdom,
Yes.
and gray hair. But it's nice that a lot of the people that you grew with
Yes.
are still in leadership roles that you get to participate with, and it does help on that communication in a lot of ways, because Abba's, he's in a very high position
Yes.
at the school district, and
Yes,
you're
he's
a
the
school
chief
board
staff
member.
Yes.
So I'm sure it's nice to have that friendly face that goes back
And-
decades. And if you need to reach across the city, you got Jim Springfield there. How does being a part of the community make your job easier, and how does it make it harder?
Another great question, Troy. When I retired in 2017 from the sheriff's office, the passion did not stop. There were,
Mhm.
just things that I about, focused in on bettering, our community, as well as, and I would say I learned a lot, but it was a different type of experience going from law enforcement over into the educational system, even though I was in the system as a resource officer, and the administrators shared all of that. But you said some key things about Jim Springfield. There were so many people in my law enforcement career in youth resource that also gave me a little bit of knowledge. But I would tell you this, when I got elected in 2020 and came on the board, there was a learning gap.
Mm-hmm.
There were things that I had to relearn, as well as make adjustments for it. And as you said, that about hard things. Sometimes it's the challenge is to be, you want to do it this way, but you got to make sure that you're doing it that's in line, that's going to benefit everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you retired from law enforcement in 2017. You had a 3-year gap there.
Yeah.
You said you still had that love. Did you have that itch, like, going, because your position's a political and elected position. Did you have that itch of, how can I serve the kids? Or was it, how can I represent the community? Or is it a combination of all of those?
It ultimately was a combination, but I want to go back and say what happened in between those 3 years.
Okay.
Still coaching, still kind of helping out. But I was very prayerful. I went on a prayer walk. And to this, I'm still on the prayer walk after going on 2017. And that was my prayer. How can I better serve the community, those that God has entrusted for us to do the job that we're doing? And it's really not a job. I consider it a ministry. But you have to make sure that being an elected official, that you're still within the guidelines of the board. But that was a driving factor. I never lost the urgency of wanting to make things better for children. I never lost the urgency of listening to teachers, listen to, custodial staffs, wanting things to be better, wanting to see, changes in the system as itself. As you can say, we have a great system, but there are still needs that we have to still address because times are changing. And what we did, what was effective 30, 40 years ago, surely is not effective now. So having that open mind and willingness to do that. I will say this in the campaigns that one of the questions came up from, a potential voter. They questioned, looking at my bio, they said, well, and the question was, well, am I getting a minister or am I getting a politician? And I said, today is a good day because you're getting 2 for 1.
Yeah, you're getting both.
Yes.
You're getting both. All right. When we come back, we got to pay some bills. But when we come back, I want to talk about the challenges of being on the board, the challenges of a growing county, and keeping that status quo of being the #1 school system in the state. So I want to talk about those items when we come back. But Blake, can you tell us what's going on in the Gas Buddy Gas Report today?
Second, all right, Gas Buddy Gas Report. Let us know in the comments where you're seeing the best gas prices for. Blake, let me say 2. Gas Buddy Gas Report. Let us know in the comments where you're seeing the best prices for gas across St. Johns County. We have Gate on Mizell Road at $2.56. The Owens at 70 South Ponce is at $2.59. A1A Discount Beverage is at $2.59. Sunoco at $21.99. North Ponce is $2.60. The Mobile and Circle K combo is at $2.61. Circle K on 207 is $2.66. We also have the Sunoco on 450 South Ponce. That is at $2.68. The Shell at 216 Ponce de Leon is $2.68. The Shell on King Street is at $2.68. And the Shell on 2350 North Ponce is at $2.71. That Gas Buddy Gas Report is brought to you by Chris Lucero Bail Bonds. Trust the law, called the name Seanoxy has trusted for years. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds, available 24/7. Their experienced and compassionate team works fast to get you or your loved one out of jail and back home. From paperwork to release, they make the process simple, discreet, and trust-free. No judgment, just help when you need it the most. When the time matters, remember the name and the number. Chris Lucero Bail Bonds at 904-822-BAIL. That's 904-822-2245.
All right. We also have to give you the live music today, and this is brought to us by visitstaugustine.com. We have Jim Lamb and Scott Halls at Milltop at noon. Richard Kunicki at Cafe Alcazar at 12:15. Joshua Tennessee Worthy at Milltop at 12:30. Muddy Marshall, it's a great name and a great place at Ben 39 at 2 o'clock. Kevin Edwards at Hurricane Grill and Wings. Sam Pizzetti and Bob Patterson, two St. Augustine legends, at 6 o'clock at Prohibition Kitchen. Stu Weaver, it says Sty Weaver, but it's Stu Weaver at Harry's at 6, and Joe Downing at Salt Life at 6 o'clock. And that music report is brought to us by Fidus Roofing. When it comes to protecting your home, trust Fidus Roofing and Construction, voted Best of St. Augustine every year since 2012. As a GAF Master Elite contractor, Fidus installs GAF Lifetime Roofing, GAF Lifetime Roofing systems and expert metal roofs built to withstand Florida's toughest weather. From emergency repairs to full replacements, plus pavers and gutters, Fidus delivers quality, durability, and energy savings with every job. For Fidus Roofing, call 904-355-ROOF. That's 904-355-7663. Fidus Roofing, where trust is built from the top down. All right, we're not doing the tap into the trends, unless Blake, you wanted to do the tap into the trends.
I think we're good right now. Plus we need a shout out to Good Troy though.
Yeah, we got to give the shout out to the good Troy. And the trends for Troy is brought to us by St. Augustine Handy House. Need a custom or prefab portable building that's built to last? Come to St. Augustine Handy House, proudly owned by Troy Usina Enterprise and serving St. Augustine community since 1988. With over 70 structures in stock, from sheds and barns to carports and offices, you'll find the perfect fit for your needs. Every building includes free delivery, leveling, and anchoring, plus easy financing options. Visit them on State Road 16, open Monday through Saturday, or call 904-823-9092. St. Augustine Handy House, where quality meets convenience and community matters. All right, we are back with school board member, former chair. Now, I think in my post yesterday, I called you the chair. But you were chair up until like January,
Yes,
right?
correct.
So just this month. Yeah, so it was a 1 year. So I wasn't too far off. I'm just a day late and $1 short like normal. Now you've been a part of the school board since 2020.
2020.
A lot of big things have happened in those 6 years that we're talking about. Growth has always been an issue here in St. Johns County since the 90s. And since you and I started working together, we've seen a lot of growth and a lot of things. How is this growth affecting the school district as a whole, and how are you guys managing it to keep the level of education up at where it's at?
Yeah,
There's a lot in that. There's a lot in that question right there.
Yes. To the point of growth, it continues to accelerate. But our focus is on our children. Our focus is on making sure that we have a good recruitment policy, have a good recruitment retention, because we want to continue to go after the best teachers, go after the best people, put the best people in front of our children as we've continued to do, and that requires a lot of extra legwork. Unfortunately, sometimes we're in a time where the resources doesn't actually match with the growth. So that is one of the many challenges that we face, and that's okay, because we're there for the kids, we're there for the parents, all of the stakeholders. If you're not aware, we build a high school, we make projections, and unfortunately, the growth can supersede the projections from year to year. And so we're on task. We go over our policy plans, and we have a 20-year expectation plan, our growth out. However, we can't dictate the growth and affordability. That another challenge is, our teachers, our staff, if you look from a statewide perception, we still got some growing there. We got to continue to work to tap into resources that are not in available now, and that's going to be sustainable in other areas. So those are the challenges. The challenges are again we have so many we have kids. We build a high school, a middle school, KA, and the next year you see 4 or 5 portables. Where kids where we have to put on our site so that we can accommodate the influx of children. But and that is not the plan. Our plan is we want to better get our kids unified. As you know, there has also been some new legislation that is allowed charter schools to come in.
And we're not as affected by that as a lot of the South
Correct.
Florida stuff because we are already at our
Yes.
capacity. And the way I understand this, and you correct me if I'm wrong, if there's available space, then the charter schools are allowed to come in. But we don't have a whole lot of space.
Yeah.
So I know it's a statewide issue, and it's an issue here in St. Johns County. But how are we managing that?
And that's because of the great job that the teachers and administrators do. I mean, we are a A-rated district. We've been there. We've been that way for several years, well over 15 years. And we're going to continue to hold that standard. We're going to continue to hold the superintendent to that standard, because we want all of our kids to be successful, whether they do the academic in our academies or in our CTE program. So, yeah, we're not fearful because we know that we're going to continue to have a high bar, and that's okay. That's okay. But we want to make sure that we're presenting the resources to keep those valuable teachers and those that keep our facilities running.
Yeah.
Mr. Coleman, I do have a question about that program specifically because let's say if we heard about plans about a charter school coming into the First Coast Technical Academy, if that goes through, then the charter school goes into a public school, does the school entirely have to pay for like the expenses for like running the classrooms at the time, or can the state subsidize that because it is a charter school that's part of the state program to come in?
Do they have to rent the space, or is it just given to them for free?
The way we interpret it that we will be responsible for the maintenance of this school, that aspect of it, security, which again that's you can't compromise with security.
Yeah.
However, and I'm glad you made the point of our schools and because our kids are we have kids that are in portables now. We don't have the space, so those are some of the things that we're going to continue to make sure our parents know that we're fighting, and not that it is what it is. However, we do such a great job of getting our kids in our schools, making sure that they got the right resources. There are still questions that haven't been answered. Is okay, who's going to be responsible? We have policies and procedures that our administration follows to the T that we're governed by, and are they not going to be allowed to? So there's some still, and I would tell you that there's some legislation going forward to actually ask what exactly they're going to be entitled to do, if that, in fact, occurs within our district. I would say, and you mentioned the FCTC campus. We currently have, it's full. We have pre-K FCTC, so our space is filled out. And we're going to continue to offer program after programs. As you shared, you had one of our administrators from the CTE give an overview of some of the programs on your show, on your prior show. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to, whatever the industry requires that's going to better benefit our children in the future, we're chasing those type of programs now.
Yeah. We did a segment about vouchers, and I was defending the vouchers. because in my opinion, the vouchers are very good. They actually can be. I think the school district needs to look at them as supplementing the kids that because the vouchers pay about $8,000. As an individual, we pay around $14,000 per kid, and it costs you guys about $14,000 for an average kid. All right, so I think instead of and Dr. Asplin, I think he got my point. I think he needs to be cautious when going after people that use the vouchers, because my two older boys went to public schools. They needed those IEPs. They needed those special services, which only you guys provide. And I think that's where his focus needs to be, is we have to do the extras. We're mandated to do the extras. The vouchers he should look at as complementing it as an entire school system. We use the vouchers, Maeve goes to CPS. But when it was presented, it almost was like an attack on the vouchers, like to the parents that are using it, is hurting the other. But that's my money. And it has to be recognized as that's my money before it's your money. And that was my point that I was trying to get. I think it would be better approach to explain to the public how much extras you have to do. It might be that $14,000 for the average student, but Ty, who went through that program, it was probably closer to $20,000 or $25,000 for all the IEPs, for all the special. He had to have an individual person shadowing him. I mean, all these things add up. It's not the vouchers that's hurting you.
Right.
It's the extras that are mandated by the state that you have to do. And, so I caution him on that, and I still will and always will with that.
And Troy, to add to that is that, the new superintendent has also, been given marching orders, and I believe they're understanding, because, and you made a valid point, which goes back to caseload and workload for teachers. When you're talking about salaries and increases and raises, all of that ties back into and the marching orders for this superintendent to make strong and make awareness is just all of those things, those extra things that teachers and administrators are doing, as well as if we're going to be going in, if that's going to be going that direction, and students, whether they are in private or charter, that may want to take a career course that is ran through the district, that we get the funding to take care of those type of programs. Because you absolutely, I have my oldest son was in the ESC program, and it is the work that goes into that specific program, with community, whether it be one-on-one or it just in general, is vital. And oftentimes the same state funding doesn't match. But we're going to still do the job, because
you're required to.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't even realize that we have Florida School of Deaf and Blind here in town. That's a state school. But once a child gets diagnosed with autism, if they're they kick them out of Florida School of Deaf and Blind. And then they fall right back into your school system.
Yes.
And I don't think people really realize some of the burdens that come from the ESE side, because, most people have neurotypical children. That's why they're called neurotypical, and I think that if he could focus on these extras that are mandated, instead of going after the voucher. Because let me tell you, that's a losing battle. Because once people get the taste, of this is the money and this is where we're at, you're not taking it back from them. You're not taking it back from them and still expecting to get community support. So to me, that's a losing battle. I understand he might want to talk about it, but don't attack it. So
And as a board member, I think is because we have the responsibility of making sure that we're doing the right thing with taxpayers' money. Even tying that, everything, in a sense goes back to how fast you expedite growth in your county or your district or your state. And I say that, even that aspect of, we have students that come from other states that, their services are in financial services are almost double what we're able to do. But that doesn't mean that, as a system, we're not going to take that child. We're going, that child has to be successful. And if they're not successful, then we're not doing what we said we would do.
Exactly. Blake, is there any questions in the comments that I missed that we need to ask Mr. Coleman?
There was a question from Diane, and she asked, "What does Tony think about all the changes he's seeing with the overwhelming construction and building up?"
Oh yeah, and you and I started. There was 2 high schools. There was Nice, who was almost brand new, and St. Augustine High, the high school.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that you can go back and forth on that one.
That is, but in our mindset, that was
the high school, absolutely,
the high school, because Hastings had already, moved everybody over to St. Augustine High. The amount of high schools we have in this district, let alone all the schools that we have and new schools coming in, how are you handling this construction side? When I was there, Tim Forson. Before him, it was David Toner. How are you managing this within the district with all these construction and oversight? Because you guys are one of the biggest developers in town. Everybody talks about big development, but you guys are constantly building.
And Troy, most people don't really know. Don't really understand. They say, well, why are they building a cade, or why are they doing that? It goes back to growth. But not only that, if you go to, and I'll just say, let's say, for example, 60% of our schools, they have portable classrooms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. They're already
that's the cost. Yeah.
Yeah, they're already overflowed.
And even though we don't own them, and we lease them, they are overflowing. But we want we really do want our children, and that's why we look at growth, looking at, okay, what is the expectation? Do we keep leasing portables and expand out? Because green space, as you know, being a director of the rec department, it's almost niche. So you got to plan ahead. We don't want to be reactive. We want to be proactive. And hopefully the growth will slow down, but you also got to see this. If you got the best product in town, people will come from miles around. Let's say.
Well, and here's something that I think, and I don't know if it happened by luck or I'm gonna give it to the brilliance, but the K-8 schools seem to help with that transitional growth because it allows some flex.
Yes.
And I think the first one was right next to Plantation Park. There was a K-8 school that turned into a middle school. How are we utilizing the K-8 and to create that flex that helps you with this growth? Can you talk a little bit about how the K-8 school is a little bit different than some of the other schools?
Yeah, and the reasoning behind that also is because you look at the development of growth of communities, like when you have communities like Nocatee, then you have the Northwest Quadrant, where again the growth is overwhelming. The K-8, the Ks make a better, and we it's been studied that K-8s do trend to do a little better when you look in terms of keeping kids together from that portion all the way till they get to high school. It is a transition, but we also take into account children's mental and emotional state from moving from school to school to school. Traditionally, again, we didn't need we didn't need a K-8 when you and I first got started.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they are in need, and until the growth starts to slow down, we will see that model.
It'll go a little. It'll stay in place until we.
Yes.
I don't see that happening. So. well, Tony, it's always great to see you,
Great.
my good friend, and I appreciate you coming in, and you've brought so much knowledge in. So thank you so much. Blake, how do you want to approach those comments, sir?
All right, on this Monday morning, I, instead of Troy, will masterfully meander my way to the minutia of details of the minions' comments.
All right, and while Blake's doing that, I got to tell you about this great group, BNS Signs. Want your business to get noticed and stay that way? Turn to BNS Signs, proudly family-owned and serving St. Augustine for over 50 years. From bold vinyl lettering to towering pylon signs, they specialize in high-quality, custom signage built to last. Their expert team handles everything from design, installation, crane service, repairs, and maintenance with fast, responsive service that keeps your sign looking sharp. Make a lasting impression with BNS Signs. Visit bnssigns.com because when it comes to signs, they do it all. And they were 2025's Business of the Year for the 904 Now. Blake, what you got, buddy?
All right, no gas report today, but Barbara Jean won first comment today for question of the day. Who was your fourth grade teacher? We have Joy said Miss Poole, and then she became Miss Rawson at Crookshank Elementary. For Kenny, it was Mrs. Bogus. And for Scott Johnson, it was Mrs. King. George was saying a little prayer for Pastor Jeff. He actually tweaked his back in preparation for Jimmy Jam, but however, he toughed it out on his golf cart though. Sad.
I never saw him get off the golf cart, so that back was fine. And they did great out there. Thank you, everybody. It was a beautiful day out there at Jimmy Jam. All right. That brings us to our Stardom stat. Today's Stardom stat in 2010 is when Haiti got devastated by an earthquake. It killed over 40 or 50,000 people. I did not realize the history of the earthquakes that took place in Haiti. They've had earthquakes recorded back to 1751, 1770, 1842, 1946, in 2010. So where the plate sits is right between Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And this one was about a 7.0 Richter scale. Unfortunately, the third world country that Haiti is, it almost devastated them. It did devastate them. The Dominican Republic handled it much better because their infrastructure and buildings were so strong. Haiti lost over 300,000 buildings. All right. Shout outs. Do you have any shout outs that you need to get out? Anybody that, you want to say at this point before we say our goodbyes?
We just want to, again, shout out to all of our administrators and our teachers and all those that support our children and keep them safe, from our law enforcement to our rec department, all those agencies, and our parents. We are so thankful that you entrust your children to educate them. And I appreciate you, Joy. You have been a mentor.
Well,
words cannot.
Our friendship goes back a long ways, and that goes both ways. So thank you for saying that. Blake, any shout outs from your side, buddy?
Did you do the ad read for Sonny's, or do you want me to do that?
I got to do it right now. So thank you for that reminder. So, all right. Sonny's Stadium Stats brought to us by Sonny's Barbecue. Hungry for a real Southern barbecue? Head over to Sonny's Barbecue, located at 2720 State Road 16 in St. Augustine. Start off right with crowd favorites like barbecue pork egg rolls, smoked wings, or those crispy corn nuggets. Then dig into your mouth-watering St. Louis ribs and try one of our Pitmasters picks with all the classic sides, including the famous garlic bread. And don't forget to wash it down with that signature sweet tea. Sonny's, local pitmaster since 1968. Those guys, I love me some Sonny's, man. I love me some Sonny's.
Fantastic stuff.
And they're a huge supporter of the school district in many ways also. And so Now, Blake, do you have any plugs?
Yes.
Thank you for being the best producer, director, keeping me on task.
You're welcome. You're welcome about that. So later today, I will be at Boat Drinks today, covering the new coalition meeting today. So I don't think I'm going to be going live, but I'll be there reporting on it. So to keep update on Facebook today. And if you'd like to help support the Now for Now, or you want to bring your podcast to our studio, you can always contact me at BlakeNowForNow@gmail.com.
All right. A lot of people are asking if I'm going to that meeting. I cannot go to that meeting. Irving and I sit on the same TDC board. It was not a publicly advertised meeting. So because of sunshine laws, we can't comment in the same area. I can listen, but me just listening and not making a comment, it's hard for me. That's hard for me to do. So I'm just going to stay away from that. All right. And we appreciate you guys. Don't forget, we got Bollocks tonight at 5 o'clock, and we'll see you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.